can compare a phone in 3 ways. You can compare it to its competition, or its predecessor, or its siblings. So comparing the iPhone 16 Pro, does it stand out? Is Apple Intelligence worth all the hype? And ultimately, is it worth using your own money to buy the iPhone 16 Pro? By the end of this video, you'll be able to understand my specific reason as to why I think it ain't worth it to get the iPhone 16 Pro, even though it's Apple's best phone ever, but also one reason why I could be wrong. This is the iPhone 16 Pro review from an average dude. This is Supreme Value, where I use a rating system / formula to determine whether a product is worth it or not numerically. I give a word rating that corresponds to a number and a tier for 4 categories. Those categories are price, features, and quality. Those numbers are then averaged out to give a value score. Starting with quality. The iPhone 16 Pro's design, while nearly identical from last year, is beautiful. I personally think Apple has become yet again the design to copy, with the elegant matte glass, straight but subtly curved edge, and pristine titanium sides. But at the same time, by this point, I do wish the notch went away or the camera was flush and didn't bulge out. They came out with this new gold colorway in which it low-key got hints of rose gold. It's clean, but I personally like the natural titanium or even the black colorway the best. But like most people, I always use a case, so it hurts that I can't appreciate the design with its intended nature, but at the same time, it's an expensive phone that I can't afford to break. And Apple did something pretty strange this year. For back-to-back years, Apple added a new button, which brings me to the camera. The all-new touch-sensitive swipeable button, it's kind of old tech portrayed as being new. Like, the gestures remind me of those instant cameras where you have to wind it up like 5 times, and honestly, it's no different here when you're trying to zoom. Pitching out to zoom with both your thumbs is definitely easier and smoother than swiping on the button 2 to 3 times. But don't get me wrong, the iPhone camera itself is supreme. Its natural colors still pop, they really got that color science down, its blurred background gives it a clean depth of field, and it can zoom pretty close to things in which I personally think can be useful, but also creepy. The iPhone 15 Pro seemed to have done wonders to the film and photography industry, which just shows how elite these cameras are. The video is smooth and even adds some background blur as well. At this point, what mode does the iPhone camera not have? They added these new filters, which I feel like they just redesigned it to make it seem innovative, but honestly, I never used them in the first place, but I'm sure people will appreciate it being able to slide around to customize the filter. This really is a mini Pro Studio in your pocket. The iPhone has stood the test of time and has proven to be a supreme camera, even used by plenty of professional films, commercials, and more. And the display is phenomenal. It's incredibly bright and dark, and the colors are vibrant yet natural feeling, and it's easily viewable outside even in direct sunlight or when the lights are off. The dynamic island is still there. At this point though, it's not too bothersome, which I'm sure Apple anticipated. I will say it's annoying that they aren't at all making it smaller. For what I use as an average consumer, its performance is flawless. Like, yes, there's occasional random glitches, but for day-to-day navigation, switching to different apps, picture-in-picture mode while using Google Maps, this thing is buttery, crispy smooth. Legit can't complain. We're in the era in which phones aren't microcomputers, but just as powerful as regular ones. And it lasts long too. For about 3 to 6 hours of battery use, I would still end around 40 to 60%. So for me, I was actually able to charge every other day. But if you use your phone closer to like 6 to 9 hours, you'll get through a day, but still probably not 2 days. Overall, the iPhone 16 Pro has amazing quality. Can't ask for more, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because we want more. Apple's headlighting feature, Apple Intelligence, is annoyingly finally all here. The iPhone 16 Pro is really out now. Basically, everyone had the iPhone 16 Pro beta for the first 2 months, because all the features Apple promised at their press conference are finally out over 2 months after it was initially released. And it's actually still in beta. Whack. But I'm not gonna lie, it's fire. Integrated AI has endless potential, and even in its inaugural implementation, it's really cool. At any point in time, you can ask Siri how to do something, and it'll guide you on how to do it. Like, it's not perfect, but I mean, for the verbal and written steps that it gives out, it's pretty instructive, but also impressive that it can understand your natural language. This is super helpful for people that aren't tech savvy. And if you can't say it, you can now write it with Type to Siri. You can also hold the camera button using its new visual intelligence, and it'll be able to analyze what's in front of you. This is basically Google Lens, which has been out for a while though. Writing is way easier with proofreading and summarizing right within your phone. And it can summarize a lot of things like articles, emails, and even messages, although it can be not as accurate for messages, so just be aware. Now, when you're in the Photos app, you can circle something and magically erase it. It works oddly well, but if the depth and background is too complex, it does freak out a bit. This is pretty useful though. I love this feature. They literally added a whole new button and you can't even do that. I'm so not surprised. Apple always does this where they purposely hold back on things that they are clearly capable of just so they can have an update in the future. I can pretty much promise that this will go out in iOS 18. I was wrong. They're saving this for next year or sometime in the future because this is still not a thing. Are you serious? It's literally a button and the only option you have with it is pressing it once? Shma. Overall, iOS 18.2 is elite in terms of the features that it offers, but several which you can have even without the 16 Pro. While Apple Intelligence could have potentially moved the iPhone 16's Pro features into the S tier rating, there's definitely still room for it to grow, so overall it remains in the A tier with amazing features. 10 Benjamins, 1,000. But wouldn't it be nice if they lowered their prices? That would shock the world. Since it's getting harder and harder to improve the quality and features of smartphones because they're so close to its peak, one thing they can do is lower them prices. But of course, Apple would never do this. In terms of price, I like to ask if I didn't know the price, how much would I pay for this? Me personally, I think a price around $850 is reasonable. I know a lot of people get their phones through carrier deals and pay way less, but at retail for $1,000 for what it offers in terms of the amazing quality and features, the price is all right. There's so many other smartphones these days that offer maybe not as much, but they way cheaper. I'm honestly at least happy they didn't raise their prices. Overall, if I average my scores up, the iPhone 16 Pro is great value with a 4 out of 5. But here's why I think the iPhone 16 Pro is just While Apple Intelligence is insane, I found myself never using it on a day-to-day basis. Like, its capabilities are endless, but there are barely situations where I took advantage of it. Maybe it's because I'm not conditioned to know how to use it, but pretty much everything I need to do, it already does, so the AI doesn't add any incentive for me to have this phone. And that's why, to me, the iPhone 16 Pro is To be honest, over time though, as people understand how to use AI though, I could see Apple's intelligence being massively useful, even for an average dude. But how is it still in beta? It's literally been 4 months. Are you serious right now? The 16 Pro is undeniably a top tier smartphone, but if comparing it to last year's 15 Pro or the base model or other Androids, it's really not worth it in my opinion. I would strongly recommend skipping this one and getting something else. The headlighting feature of the 16 Pro, Apple Intelligence, is also in the base model 16 and last year's 15 Pro, and really that applies to like 85% of the phone. It could age well. iPhones have so many years of software to come that who knows, maybe this is the phone that ends up lasting over 5 years. But even if it was worth it, do you even really need it? Previous gen phones are so good these last years. It's gonna take a lot for people to want to pay their money to upgrade to a new phone. This video is sponsored by me, baby. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments. Peace.
Well, now it's time to turn this TV off.